Welcome to the show that looks at truth, fiction, and reality with a smirk. Now I'm Aaron Peterson.
I'm Amanda Sink.
And I'm Zach Parkerson.
And welcome to Smirk. And this week, it's Listener Week.
Woo!
We've been talking a lot since we started the podcast about if you have stories, send them in, and we will read them on our show and discuss in our way. And we've got two to share this week, and we're going to put them together and make it our reader episode. Or listener episode. Which one is it? Writer episode? What is this called?
Listener episode.
Listener turned writer episode.
So this
is sad. I want them to be sad. I'm used to sad stories when I'm here.
Yeah.
I
want this to be thematically similar to a Zach week.
I don't know because I haven't actually read them. I mean, I proofed them, so I did graze them, but I tried not. You know what? I saw the words.
You read it.
I didn't. Oh, yeah, I did. I read it.
You can see the words without reading. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, when you edit, you're just like you're glossing it over, and you're just looking for errors and stuff to make sure it's clean. That's all.
It's like a Stephen King book. It's a bunch of words, but it doesn't say anything.
Nobody bashes the king, baby. We're just going to pretend that never happened. So let's get into it. Our first one is from Lee Perry, and now it's time for Lee's story. My parents were in their late 40s when they had me, which meant most of my friends' parents were young enough to be my siblings, not my superiors. I can't say that it mattered much growing up. My parents were active, and we spent lots of weekends on the lake, fishing and water skiing with the best of them. Although looking back now, they did enjoy their afternoon naps. Anyway, I was a good kid. I was polite and well-mannered, always keeping my rebellious thoughts to myself. As I got older, however, I started noticing that things irked me. For instance, the way my mom always barked orders at my dad, and how my dad never stood up to her constant nagging. Then as a teenager, when my mom finally took a job outside of the house, she would come home exhausted and park herself on the couch while I would be responsible for making dinner, not to mention cleaning up. I was a kid. Why did I have to take care of her? I didn't ask to be brought into this world, by the way. Life was totally unfair and various other teenage angst-filled rants. Around the summer of my 17th year, my grandmother came to live with us. This is a special treat. I had always been close to my grandmother, who, until this point, had lived several hours away. I didn't realize at the time that Grandma's coming to live with us had nothing to do with making me happy and had everything to do with the fact that Grandma couldn't remember where she left the milk carton at breakfast, discovering it later in one of the bathroom cabinets. I suppose others thought my parents were saints to take on such a responsibility, but I knew the truth. They were short-tempered and had no patience for the ailing matriarch, and I resented them deeply. How could they be so selfish? Fast forward to the present. I'm now approaching 40, and with each passing day feeling a little more and more like those people I spent so much time judging. I come home from a long day at the office to a house full of children who have no idea the stresses and fires I've been putting out all day. Everyone needs something from me, and all I want is to sit in seclusion. I can hardly bring myself to visit my father, who's now living in an assisted living facility after my mom passed away 2 years ago. He needs help with every little thing, and suddenly I've realized something. When you're a kid, all you can see is the mirror in front of you. Everyone and everything is in the periphery and blurry, distorting the picture you're so desperately trying to focus on. Yourself. You can't wait to spread your wings and do this thing called life so much better than those who have gone before you. Ironically, I woke up this morning only to find out maybe that looks a lot like it did when two middle-aged people were so valiantly trying to live it out in front of me the best that they could.
That was actually a really cool story. I mean, it's sad, but it was well written and interesting to have somebody tell us their life story.
So you think it's truth?
Yeah.
Wow, way to jump to that assumption.
Well, I mean, at the beginning it says, when I...
You could write a story in the first person that's fiction.
Mm-hmm. I guess it's fair. You could.
If you had an imagination.
I'm still going with, like you guys do, not about ghosts.
This person, obviously, this was actually a ghost that wrote this.
Yeah.
It's a ghostwriter.
May Lee rest in peace.
I'm obviously going with truth on this.
Well, we're not there yet. We're at morals.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Why are you dictating everything? Why are you such a tyrant?
Why are you always dictating everything?
It's a good call.
Hey, you know what, guys? Lee gets to dictate right now.
What do you guys think the moral is?
You don't know what you have till it's gone? Maybe?
Okay. Amanda?
I guess probably something about how you never know how much other people are struggling or what they're going through until you're starting to deal with your own things too. As you
The
get older.
awful inevitability of becoming your parents.
All of
Or
those,
that.
all of those work, but the moral from Lee is walking a mile in another man's shoes.
Mm.
Yeah. So essentially the same thing.
We're close, Lee. We gotcha.
Yeah, we got you. We're on the same page. But we're doing it so much better than our parents.
Are we?
Yeah,
Probably not.
unquestionably.
Probably not. So here is what I have to. She's done the work. She's got 3 questions for us.
Wow.
Huh?
Impressive.
Yeah, it's better than these guys usually come
Nice
up
job. Hey, we have
What?
our questions.
I said that out loud. I hate when I do that. I got to stop it.
I always come with a question.
When are we starting? Is that the question? So have you ever judged someone only to be caught later doing the same thing? Oh, that's a great question.
Wow, that is a good question.
Oh, I'm sure I've been hypocritical. There's no way I haven't.
Anything specific you can think of that you want to rat yourself out for?
You know what? This did come up recently. So sure.
Let me write this down. Hang on.
Wait, can I get arrested for this? I don't know if I can go.
If it's a crime,
Whoa.
please do not confess
It's not
to
a
anything.
crime.
Don't cop to a murder on Smirk.
I've smoked weed before, and
Oh my God.
it was
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Slow
whoa.
down.
Back up. I thought it was going to be cool.
It's not very interesting.
This isn't Denver, okay?
No, but I've judged people for how much they do and how they act on it, because I didn't find much enjoyment from it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that, I don't know, it just wasn't worth the money to me. I was a little irritated how much it costs, even if it is a little bit, for you to not get much out of it. So I
feel like you're still judging them is what it sounds like.
no, I think that everything needs to be done in moderacy. Like even with drinking, you have to moderate that stuff too. So, but I mean, it's everybody's life. It's their own choices.
Is moderacy a word?
I don't know. You want to Google it? Let me know.
Moderacy and triction. Reinvent words on Smirk.
I'm a writer. English language has to come from somewhere other than Latin.
You know what? I'm tired of all the words we have. We need new ones now.
Triction and moderacy. You're welcome. But I guess I whenever I have my hypocrisies, I end up realizing them, which I'm pretty thankful for. I realize you're being a jerk right now. So I take a step back, and sometimes it takes me a little bit longer. And then I'm like, you know what? I do the same thing. When people say things that are out of line because they're frustrated and angry, I have done that myself. And so I've been hypocritical with that. But then I get frustrated when somebody says something that they don't mean to me and my feelings are hurt. Why would you say that to me if you didn't mean it? And I've done the exact same thing. I think we've all done things like that. So I've had my judgments and my hypocrisy in my lifetime for certain. Absolutely. I just try to be mindful about it and find a way to rectify it afterwards and realize that it's not my life for what people are doing.
Zach?
Man, it's a deep question. I'm trying to think about like any specific instance, because I'm sure I have done so. I think you wouldn't be a human being if you haven't, but I can't think of anything specific off the top of my head. Yeah, so maybe you go, Aaron.
Definitely. And the best example I can give is parenting. I judged my mom left and right for everything she did when I was a kid, and I thought she was mean in a lot of ways, and she didn't, wasn't listening to me, didn't understand me. It was only, she just didn't see the big picture. You don't know me, all that stuff. I think kids think about until they're like 25, 30 years old, and they start realizing that life, she was preparing your parents, hopefully, if they were doing it right, were preparing you for life. They weren't just like being jackasses. They did it for a good reason. And that's the one thing, as I got older and I had kids and I became an adult and I lived life, I started seeing all the things she was trying to do and trying to teach me and trying to lead me with, so I had life skills, so I could actually survive in the world. It's not an easy world. And like now, I think my mom is an angel that sits atop of heaven's gate, even though she's still alive. She's still an angel, sitting atop heaven's gate. But I didn't think that. I still love my mom, but I didn't think that when I was 19, 20, whatever. But as I got older, yeah, absolutely. Swallowed those words and realized quite quickly that I was wrong. So, total hypocrite. And I was judging, very judgy.
I think we've all been there and done that. Zach, do you have an example for yourself? Or are you not a hypocrite?
Yes. Yes, I'm not.
Infallible?
Infallible. I try to go to some pretty extreme lengths not to judge people, but obviously everyone does, especially if they're vegan or whatever. But
you want some water with that water?
But I'm sure not going to eat just vegan stuff. No, I can think of specifically one thing, but it kind of pertains to something I don't think I'm ever going to share on this podcast. So
fair enough.
Sorry. Yeah.
All right. Her next question.
Yes. Sorry. The answer is yes.
Oh, I thought you were going to come back and finally give it up. Sorry. We'll come back. Maybe at the end of the show to run. Do you think, this is her second question, do you think in some ways everyone ends up becoming their parents?
I hope no.
You really don't like your parents, man.
No. Well, first of all, I don't even necessarily have to do my own parents. Okay. Other people have parents too. No, I don't think people are destined to become their parents. Some people's parents do awful things and treat them awfully, and I don't think that they are guaranteed to continue the cycle of being awful to their kids. I think that cycles can be broken. I don't think you're predisposed to be your parents.
I agree with Zach on the aspect that there's no guarantee that you're going to be exactly like your parents. But if you are around your parents, your environment can creates who you are. So you can resent your parent for how they were and make a very constant effort to be different from your parents if you recognize that you don't want to be like that. But a lot of times you will still pick up some sort of aspects from your parents, that maybe some of their bad habits or maybe even some of their good habits. It doesn't necessarily need to be bad that you get from your parents. I think in some ways you are going to have some sort of resemblance to them in some way. And if you don't, it's probably because you've made an effort to be different than them. And I think you have to make a constant effort to do that because, and I guess it could even be your grandparents too. It's whoever raised you. Your environment creates who you are.
That's tough. I don't think inevitably everyone's going to become their parents, but I do think you will carry attributes of them. And not necessarily of how they are, but what your experience with them taught you or brought upon your life. So you wear that like a badge. Not necessarily of honor, just a badge. Could be a lot of different kinds of badges. But yeah, I definitely think your upbringing, like you said, your upbringing is going to determine who you are. So I don't know how you don't gain something from it, whether it's positive or negative. That depends on your circumstances. But yeah, definitely you'll take something, but you won't become your parents. I think most people I know haven't become. In fact, most people I know have actually gone to great lengths to be the opposite of their parents because I, come from a much more difficult upbringing. So for me, that's what that leads to. It can lead to a lot of positive change if you really want it to. Like the things you didn't like about your parents, apply those things so you don't do them and then do them differently and, grow from it. But even people who have awful parents, there's usually some attribute that could be used for positive, whether it's for change or whether it's something they did one thing really, really well. And maybe that's what people should take with them.
Or maybe it's just some sort of an interest or a hobby that they take on. That they dealt with when they were a kid. Maybe it was fishing or maybe it was watching movies or something, but that can be something that you grow to love when you're older and grow up with it. So you take that on from your parents, but maybe they suck in every other area. So you make an effort to not have that be the culmination of your life.
I will tell you, as being older, I can say from life experience that you grow up in, especially like if you have an estranged relationship with one parent or both parents, and you say, I'm not going to be anything like them. I'm not going to carry that. There's almost definitely something that you carry with you. And it's usually a thing that you don't like, but it's part of you because maybe you thought about it or obsessed over it so much, it's in you. You might bury it. You might reform it or re-educate it, but it's there.
Or maybe that's why you didn't like it, is because you saw some of that in yourself.
There you go. This is getting too deep. We got to get out of this.
Interesting questions. Oof. I like it.
Yeah, very, very good. Well done, Lee. And you want to hear the title of her story?
Yes.
I'm not going to tell you.
Well, are you going to tell if it was truth or fiction? About
it. Don't know if it's truth or fiction. I don't have that, so we'll have to skip that one.
I'm willing to bet some money.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet money it's true. Yeah. The title is Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better? Question
Ooh.
mark.
That's good.
Well
I like
done.
it. Nice
Now-
job.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. Now we've got another story. This is a little shorter. Interesting, though. Still interesting. This is from David McGraw. You guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is Dave McGraw's story. I'll tell you the title when it's over. Now, he does not have questions, so we'll have to make this up and have as much fun with it as we
Ooh.
can.
Oh, making fun.
Yeah,
This isn't up Zach's alley.
I know.
I guess it's up to you and I, Aaron.
I guess we'll handle it. You just sit back, all right?
Unless there's an Xbox around, I can't do it.
All right, well, get ready, because I'm going to tell you Dave's story. One day I was walking down the road, just strolling along and minding my own business. It was at that time I saw him. There wasn't anything unusual about him or the way he looked or walked, but I had a strange feeling about him. A sinister feeling. A feeling of terror. He walked across the street just like everyone else. But then he looked at me with those eyes. They seemed dark and endless, and the sight of them sent a shiver up my spine. I quickly turned around and walked off in the opposite direction. I walked for a few minutes and then went into a store. But as soon as I went in, I saw him again, staring at me with those eyes. I turned quickly and ran out of the store and up the street. I didn't stop running until I was at least a mile from the shop. Finally, I stopped and walked into a clothing shop. I walked around the store looking at the clothes when I saw him again, standing there and staring at me. I couldn't take it any longer. I just had to find out who he was. I walked over and tapped him on the shoulder. There was no reply. I tapped him on the shoulder again, and still, no reply. Finally, I gave him a shove. He suddenly toppled over and fell to the floor. The clerks and customers all looked at me, and then to the floor. Quickly, I ran out of the store, leaving the shattered remains of the mannequin strewn across the floor.
Oh.
Paranoid.
That sounds like paranoia to me.
Certainly not a ghost. I know that.
Yes, we've established.
So what do you guys think the moral of this story was? That's a pretty good story. That had me going there for a little bit.
Yeah, it's got to be something about paranoia.
Something about feeling watched, something of that nature.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's definitely got to be what it is. So what did you guys take from his story? What did you take from it?
He's got problems.
Somebody needs to find his psychiatrist pretty quickly. I guess just that not everything is what it seems. So sometimes it's something that you create in your head.
Yeah, maybe the greatest horrors are in your mind.
And apparently, mannequins don't come to life. And I'm really bummed because that movie in the 80s really had me believe in it that would happen. And that Kim Cattrall would be... Okay, now I'm getting a little too personal.
Yeah, whoa.
Damn it.
That's not the personal stories we hope to hear here.
Yeah, that's the one I had. That's the one I had. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
It was
a little
interesting.
spooky story. I mean,
Yeah.
Now, here's a better question for you two. What would be a follow-up question for that?
man, really putting us on the spot here. Let me get my Smirk hat on. See what I can come up with.
You got a hat? I didn't get a hat. Did you get a
Yeah.
hat?
Where did you make hats? Why didn't we
Yeah.
get one?
Oh, I didn't
only
really think
three
you
of
guys
us.
deserved one yet.
Ooh, you got to earn the Smirk hat.
I gave one to Lee and Dave, though.
Oh.
Oh,
Well, they earned it.
well
so.
done. Well done.
Are you going to ask something, Aaron?
I know we referenced it a little bit on Amanda's ghost story, but in a deeper level, have you ever actually seen someone that seemed like they were following you? Like you were out doing something and you saw someone maybe in more than one location to where you thought maybe they were following you.
Oh, I've definitely been followed before
Seriously?
by like real people. Yeah.
Oh.
I
Like
feel
in a
like
sexy way?
In a stalker way or
Yeah.
sexy way?
Yeah, stalker way or sexy way? Which way?
stalker, not sexy. I don't consider it sexy.
Could that be a sexy
well,
stalker?
It all depends on what they look like, doesn't it?
No.
Yeah, I bet it does.
It all depends on my if
Does it
I'm
look like Demi
desiring.
Lovato?
You know what? I would let her stalk me.
Yeah.
But that's not stalking because it would be an invitation. Come on, Demi.
Now she
Okay.
started by stalking you. It's still stalking.
Yeah, I feel like women actually deal with this on a pretty familiar basis where you're walking down the street and all of a sudden you have the same person following you for blocks.
Seriously?
Yes, all the time. This is why women...
See, guys are happy when that happens. They're like, check her out, man. She's been following me for blocks.
This kind of upsets me because sometimes I'm following the same woman on the Chicago streets for several blocks because we're going in the same direction.
You're talking Chicago. I don't live in Chicago. I shouldn't have anybody following me for the same streets for blocks.
They should take a different route?
Well, no, but why is the same person...
I feel bad for this guy now.
The area I live in, you don't all... There's not like a very similar route that people take to get to certain places. Like Chicago, it's pretty natural for people to be walking and maybe have the same person walking near you for a little, like an extended period of time. But where
it ain't normal.
There's so many places they could be going.
Yes,
yeah.
that's not.
But maybe they need to go to the same not suburb, but the same area that you're going to.
We obviously can't come to a term here, or terms of agreement here. So why don't you just tell us your stalking story? Or I'm sorry, your innocent bystander that happened to be following you.
Yeah,
this poor guy trying to make his ends meet.
Did I say it was a guy? Maybe it's a girl.
I think you did specify a guy.
Oh, that's true. Maybe.
But the story got better for a minute.
It was Demi Lovato. But no, I think
now the story's awesome. Finish it out.
Hey, if this were a real life story, I wouldn't be sitting here recording with you guys. I'd be with Demi Lovato.
Okay, this is obviously a thing for you.
Come on the show?
Huh? Oh yeah, she could come on the show.
Yeah.
That'd be great, actually. Demi, if you want to come hang out with us. So anyway, women experience this on a much more frequent level than I think men actually realize. And I think they just kind of what you guys were saying, think that maybe we're overthinking it or it's not actually happening. But when you have someone who catcalls you and follows you for blocks, you know that they're following you for blocks. And it happens.
Allow me to mansplain something to you real quick.
Oh, boy.
Let me stop you right now. Don't talk.
let her finish her thought, and then you can mansplain.
Okay, good. I'm very good at mansplaining.
Oh, gosh. Here we go. But no, it does happen. And I'm not saying that it happens all the time and to every single woman, but at some point in a woman's life, they have experienced being stalked in some way. And whether it's continuous or even now when we talk about, and this can go for anybody, obviously, with social media, you're being stalked probably a lot more than you realize.
A lot of women are doing that stalking too.
Yeah, no, and I'm not saying they're not. But
I saw you were at McDonald's yesterday. How did you see it, you crazy person? How do you know that?
They've become the FBI for the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But it happens pretty frequently. So I've been in that position, and you just have to, hopefully you were taught some sort of self-defense and you understand like how to hold your keys properly. And I think you become much more observant after you've been through those scenarios and you've been taught to be aware of those scenarios. You constantly walk down the street when you're alone looking for where would I go if something happened to me. And it's not a comfortable feeling by any means, but I think you just naturally, and I don't know, I can't speak for men, but for women, I would say a lot of us, because I've had these conversations, we constantly have to figure out some sort of an escape plan if something did happen to us.
I do that in general. I don't trust nobody. Nobody.
Maybe you're paranoid.
In my own house, I got an escape plan.
You should.
I should.
Especially if there's a fire. You should have an escape plan.
What about you, Zach? Mansplain some stuff.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Yeah, let me tell you, women, they don't have to take care of themselves. You know, I'm just
Those
kidding.
outfits they're wearing.
Yeah, well, yeah, when you're asking for it, it can't be helped.
Don't even go there.
That's at Zach Parkinson. No,
He didn't mean that, I hope.
no, I did not. I felt pretty clearly a joke.
Just making sure.
They can't make jokes 2018.
No, they took those away too.
Yeah, can't. No, I've never been like followed on the street per se. I've had a woman follow me from one job to the other because she was obsessed with me.
Seriously?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there was that.
I'm guessing she was a goth girl. As happy as you are, it has to be a goth girl.
Would that be nice? I like goth girls. No, but I'm always worried about getting robbed in Chicago, even though it never happened. So I always have an escape strategy, but I've never really felt followed. I mean, you get a lot of people on trains in Chicago who just stare at you the whole ride, just because they're weird, I guess. But then you get off the train and it's no longer a bother.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever happened to me that I'm aware of, but maybe they're just really good at it.
I've been followed home, too. That happened actually not that long ago. I was followed home. That was creepy.
Legitimately followed, or just you think you were followed?
They like followed. I took weird paths in my neighborhood because I felt like somebody could have. I wasn't saying that they were following me at first because I was unsure, and I was like, well, if they are, if I don't want them to know where I live, so
Right.
I've always been taught to just take a different route, see if they continue following you through this weird route you take home.
I think you might be paranoid.
No, that's a smart thing to do. That's smart.
That sounds paranoid, man.
That's
Look.
what most dead people say.
There's too many true crime podcasts, okay? So I took a different
true.
route. I took weird routes home, and I just kind of like zigzagged through different streets before I approached my house. And I was like, oh, well, they're not there anymore. I didn't see them in my rearview mirror. So I went down this final road and kind of went around the curve, went up a street, and my house would have been basically straight ahead on the left-hand side. And I saw the car coming down opposite of me. So I was like, oh, well, you know what? They can't be following me now if they're coming down, unless they're still looking for me, I guess. I waited a second. I didn't see them come around the other corner where I had just driven down. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pull in the driveway, get inside the house really fast. So I parked my car, and as I was
Lead them to your house.
well, I thought they were maybe gone because I waited.
This is the end of every Lifetime movie. Or the beginning, one of those.
I waited and I didn't see anybody, so I figured maybe since they were going opposite my direction, they were just finding somebody's house or something. Maybe they were pizza delivery. I don't know. So I pull into my driveway, I parked, and as I'm about to get out of my car, and I'm already, like, my foot is outside the door, I see, because my house is, like, on a bend, like a curve corner. And I see on that curve a little bit further down, that car is stalled, like just sitting there with their headlights on in the middle of the road, like basically looking at my house.
In the middle of the road?
Yeah, they were like in the middle of the street.
I call the cops at that point.
I did call the cops.
All right.
So then I like hurried up and I went inside, and as I was at my door and I was walking in, and I was like, well, I'm smart, lock the door, deadbolt that. And I look out the window at the front door, and they are literally parked, sitting right in front of the end of the driveway, just the whole time I was walking inside.
Okay, that's definitely following you.
So they ended up leaving. It took them a couple of seconds because I watched outside the door, and I had my phone on me, and they were just sitting out there. So I called the non-emergency number, and because I was like, well, I don't know for sure that they were following me. Maybe they were
I don't know.
lost.
I might dial that up to an emergency.
So I called and ended up getting it called in, and they had a sheriff come out and talk to me, and he patrolled the area. There was actually a house that was broken into down the street, which is why it took him so long to get to my house to check on things. And I was like, can you, just.
Gonna be star of your own Lifetime movie.
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to need your work address just in case. And I was like, well, if they follow me across state lines, we have problems because I commute.
This is probably going to just illustrate how horrible a human being I used to be. But when I was a teenager, me and my brothers would occasionally just pick a car and just follow them.
What?
Just to mess with them.
Crazy.
That's how you get beat down in the street like a dog.
Just saying, maybe this is a fun little teenage adventure.
It could have been. I have a
Would you call that a
ex.
fun little teenage adventure or
It was for the teenagers.
That's pretty sick, man.
And then you go steal a garden gnome. It's fun.
Garden gnomes are a thing of yours, like a collector, or?
Plus, when I was a teenager, you should see my car trunk.
Oh my God.
Guys, it's Christmas. Anybody need a garden gnome?
Everybody, you get a garden gnome and you get a garden gnome.
He's like Oprah
I
in the
don't know.
neighborhood.
I was way down in winter, trust me.
Did you ever steal somebody's garden gnome and give it back to them as a gift?
That'd be hilarious.
No, we would no.
Walk up.
We sometimes took someone else's garden gnome and put it in the spot of the one we just took. Which is
It's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, I think that's pretty. I was pretty proud of that one.
I mean, you should be ashamed, but I'm laughing anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's funny.
Come on, people. It's okay to laugh.
It is. They still had a garden gnome. It was just a different one.
And then they get to look at it every morning going, I swear it was a different one. I don't remember that one. That's weird.
Yeah, I know. And then they think they're haunted. Well, they're not because ghosts aren't real.
It never ends, Zachary.
Oh, that's funny. And before we move on, we got to tell you what the title of the story is. It's A Strange Encounter. Dave McGraw's story is A Strange Encounter. So maybe we should change it to What is the Statute of Limitations for Zach? All right. Well, thanks, Dave and Lee. That was great.
Seriously, those were really cool. Thanks for bringing those in to us.
All right, guys. So as our show goes, we will occasionally pick listener stories like these to read and discuss on Smirk. So if you'd like a chance to have yours read, email it to mystory@smirkpodcast.com.
It was a lot of fun, so please send more.
Yeah. Definitely.
It was
Don't
fun.
be afraid.
Hold on.
Whoa,
Hold on.
whoa.
What's the
I'm sorry,
timestamp on this podcast?
I said the wrong word. It was funny.
Not only did you say it, you felt like it.
Yeah.
It almost felt like it was in your face, like you smiled when you said it.
He had a
Well,
smirk.
good thing.
You might have smirked. Yeah, maybe.
These two got Zach to have fun on a podcast.
Good job. Good
You
job.
guys never
Linda.
could, so.
Somebody's got to.
Wow. You guys never could.
That's a dope impression.
That's exactly what you sound like to me when I heard it. Join the conversation by joining our Facebook group or follow us on Twitter at Smirk Podcast, but be sure to use the show's hashtag Smirk. Don't miss an episode. Be sure to subscribe to Smirk on your podcast app of choice. We're also on Spotify, or check out our website at smirkpodcast.com.
And when you go to the Facebook group and you join and you hang out and chat and everything, put weird stories in there that you want to talk about or topics you want to talk about too if you don't feel comfortable writing a story just yet. And we can have conversations in the Facebook group.
Oh, man, I wants friends.
I do. I want friends in the group. Come hang out with us.
Let's talk. Let's talk.
We've posted some weird stories in there before and they've come out to have some interesting conversation. So
how do you guys feel? This is our first listener stories. So what did you think? I mean, overall, you love that concept, or?
Yeah, I mean, I used a word that I don't usually use, so.
I didn't know it was in his vocabulary.
He didn't either, apparently.
I think it's interesting. And I was really impressed with how well-formed those stories were. And Leah had that really cool format that she was ready to go. She's like, you guys are going to talk about this and this and that.
Yeah.
So I
That's
don't know.
good,
They're
yeah.
both interesting. I liked it. Hope to hear more.
Absolutely.
Cool of Lee to share that story. And cool of Dave to tell a hopefully fictional one.
Maybe it's his true life story, okay? Don't judge him.
Poor Dave. Poor Dave is all I got to say. As you write your own life story, always remember to tell it with a smirk.
And y'all better been smirking.
I'm smirking right now.
Smirk.
Let's just
Talk
say,
to them.
how many
Talk to the
times can we
listeners.
say smirk in the Smirk podcast? Is there a
Smirk.
limit?
Smirk.